This video is sponsored by Squarespace. As we all know, last year was the 70th anniversary of Formula One. The first season was all the way back in 1950. And over that 70 years, there's been lots of different point scoring systems. So first place hasn't always meant 25 points like it does at the moment. And the thing with that is that depending on which era you drove in, your results could end up in very different circumstances. So at the moment, you get a point if you're in P10, but you go back not too long and points only went to the first 8 drivers who finished. So what I thought was, let's take all of the 2020 results, the final table, but instead of the 2020 point scoring system, we apply a different point scoring system and see how things might have changed, even if the results themselves on paper were exactly the same. So our current point system, you get 25 points for P1, 18 for P2, 15 for P3, and it goes all the way down to 1 point for P10 and 1 point for fastest lap, as long as you're within that top 10. The initial idea was to go back to the 2003-2009 point scoring system, so the most recent big shake-up, where P1 was 10 points, P2 8, P3 6, P4 5, P5 4, P6 3, P7 2, and P8 1. No point for fastest lap. But actually, when I worked it all out and I put it into a nice big Excel spreadsheet, it turns out only one position changed. Lance Stroll finished 1 point ahead of Pierre Gasly instead of level. Obviously, the gaps between drivers changed, but none of the positions changed at all, bar them two. Boring. So instead, I thought, let's go all the way back to that inaugural 1950 season. This point system was in place till 53. You got 8 points for P1, 6 points for P2, 4 for P3, 3 for P4, and 2 points for P5, and 1 point for fastest lap. Oh, and one other thing. Only 4 results counted. Your 4 best results counted towards the Drivers' Championship. Now, this was okay in a day when there were only 7 races on the whole calendar in the entire year. So 4 of them counted out of 7. We had 17 in 2020. So you'd think, Tommo, makes sense. Adjust that proportionally. Maybe count 9 races instead of 4. But I make the rules and we're going with 4 still. So only the top 4 races are going to count for these drivers. I'm taking the exact ruling from 1950. Surely this is bound to mix things up. Well, it did. It's pretty mad that even though only the top 5 score points, 14 drivers managed to score points still in this system, because the fastest lap rule back then wasn't restricted to the top 10. So you might be able to guess who I'm talking about there. So let's start with the nil points, those who didn't score a single point all season. Sorry lads, it's Kimi Raikkonen, Antonio Giovinazzi, Romain Grosjean, Kevin Magnussen and Nicholas Latifi. Not a point between any of them. We obviously had P9s for Kimi, Tonio and Roman last year, but again, not top 5. So no points for them. And also, harsh, but Nico Hulkenberg, as impressive as his P7 and 8 were, still no points for him. Sorry, Nico. In P15, we have George Russell with 1 point. That's 3 places higher than his real life finish. We all know Sakir. We've all talked about it to death, how he was unlucky not to win. He should have won that race. We know that. But George did manage to get fastest lap. So even though his P9 doesn't get points in this point system, his fastest lap does. So well done, George. Enjoy that point, lad. Right. Quick pause. Advertising Tommo here. Big up Squarespace for coming back clutch and supporting the channel once again. I haven't got a Scooby how many of you watching interacted with my previous Squarespace ad reads, but we must be doing something right because they're back again. So thank you so much for supporting the people who support me. If you aren't aware of Squarespace, it's the perfect all-in-one platform to launch your very own website. I did years ago, still got mine. Couldn't recommend them more highly. Blog, portfolio, online store, doesn't matter. They've got you covered. So if you are interested, head to squarespace.com for a completely free trial. Take as long as you like. And when you're ready to go live, use code TOMMOF1 or give the link in the top line of the description a click and bag yourself 10% off your first website or domain. Cheers, Squarespace. Back to the video. In P14, we've got Daniel Kvyat. That's 3 points, which is equal to the position he finished in real life. His 4th place at Imola was the only time he scored points in this system. Look, Kvyat, I've said it before, I'll say it again. He came on good towards the end of the season, but it wasn't enough. And even if it had been better, I don't think it had been enough to dislodge Yuki's potential of getting into that seat. Of course, the Honda connection and the fact that Yuki is different gravy. And you know I reserve that term for people who I think are really good. Plus I'm biased because I really like the lad. In P13 with 4 points, and again equal to his real life position. Don't worry, they get more interesting down the line. It is, of course, Sebastian Vettel. Massively disappointing season. Obviously for Seb, only one top 5 finish, but that was his podium, his P3 in Turkey, which gets him 4 points in this system. I'll be honest, as time goes on, I am feeling more confident about Seb in that Aston Martin. I don't know why. I don't know. I just feel like it's a better fit for him. Fingers crossed anyway. In P12, we have Esteban Ocon with 8 points. Yes, Esteban didn't have a great start of the year, particularly was very much behind Daniel Ricciardo. I thought he came good towards the end. Again, I've said that many a time before. I think he's going to have a strong year next year. And obviously that P2 at Sakir right at the end did him favours here. That got him 6 points, which has pushed him right up the rank. In P11, it's Pierre Gasly. 10 points. Again, I promise it will get interesting. It's just not for this section. Mr. Consistent obviously got 8 points from that win at Imola. Got another 2 points from a P5 in Portugal. But the thing is with this system, again, it punishes anyone who's kind of P6 to P10 who would get points, which is where Pierre was a lot of the time this year and just didn't get any points from those because this system's pretty harsh. All right, joint P9, so like P9, P10 positions. Big shock, first and foremost, it's the McLaren boys, both Lando Norris and Carlos Sainz, just 13 points each. Now, Lando did technically finish P10, so I guess this is kind of fine for Lando, but Carlos finished P6 in real life, and now he's dropped to P9. What this tells me is their ability to pick up consistent points, even if it wasn't top points, but just being on that peripheral, being in that P6 to P10 range a lot of the time, because, again, they got third in the Constructors, yet they're occupying 10th and 9th in this list. Not always the most glamorous, but always picking up points. That is Andreas Seidel levels of German consistency right there. Now for joint P7. On 14 points, we've got Alex Albon and Lance Stroll. I'm putting Alex P7, okay, because I can. But Lance Stroll finished P12 in real life. And this is joint P7, which says a lot. It says, again, when he's delivering, he's really delivering. But when he's not, he's really not. He's either really doing well and very firmly into the points, or completely out of them. Lance scored 2 thirds, 2 fourths, but that was it in terms of top 5 placings throughout the year. And obviously Alex, it wasn't great. The pain is still there. At least I'm going to watch some DTM this year, which I haven't, I'll be honest, for a very, very long time. In P6, on 15 points, just 1 point ahead of Lance and Alex, it's Daniel Ricciardo. Again, kind of like Pierre, Daniel was Mr. Consistent in terms of always kind of just creeping into that top 10 and getting points that Renault needed. But again, this system only rewards top 5s. And so he has missed out a little bit here, even though he got those 2 podiums. Again, when you think Daniel finished P5 in real life, Lance finished P12, yet there's only 1 point between them here. That's pretty crazy, especially when you consider the results are identical. In P5 with 16 points, we've got Charles Leclerc, whatever you want to call him, +3. His real life finish. He finished P8 in real life. He's finishing P5 here. A P2, a P3, and a couple of P4s. Great. But also that Ferrari was an absolute mess. And so it was firmly out of the points a lot of the time as well. Although obviously Charles was able to extract much more from it than Seb was able to, it wasn't anywhere near where it was in 2019, was it? P5, Sergio Perez, 20 points. No change here. Of course it was. 4 points clear of Charles is pretty comfortable in the end, isn't it, really? The Sakir win, Turkey P2, P4s at Russia and Mugello as well. If he'd have converted that Abu Dhabi result where the engine blew up for no obvious reason, it would have been even more. Oh yeah, and he missed 2 races from this stupid virus. The man's a machine. Top 3 time. And in P3, it's Valtteri Bottas on 29 points. So 1 position lower than real life. He finishes behind Max Verstappen. 2 wins all season. The same number of wins that Max got. But obviously Valtteri's in a Mercedes. So it's just not, it's not it, is it, Valtteri? Hopefully, 2021, additional hair growth. Maybe hairy chest might do the job, Valtteri. The thing is with Valtteri's got the pace in him. I just think the racecraft isn't quite there. It's very frustrating though, because over a lap, he's right up there. And then in P2, obviously, it's Max Verstappen. 30 points, +1 position-wise from where he finished real life. He finishes above Valtteri Bottas, which I think is deserved. I think Max deserved P2 last year, if you ask me. He matched Valtteri in terms of best results. The only difference was that Max scored one extra fastest lap. Out of Valtteri's 4 best results, he only got fastest lap once, whereas Max, his 4, he got fastest lap twice. And then in P1, with maximum points, it's Lewis Hamilton. Not only did he get more than 4 wins last season, but also he had exactly 4 wins with fastest laps as well. So it's all 36 points to Lewis Hamilton, the king, undisputed. So we are done. You can see on, I think it's this side, the way I've set up the graphics, the table, the real life table, and this different table. Again, the results are identical. It's just using the 1950s point scoring system. Is there much point to this video? Not really. Is it quite interesting to speculate and think about how results... Yeah, I think it's quite interesting. So I hope you found it interesting as well. Thank you as ever for watching. I do appreciate you taking the time. My name continues to be Tommo. This continues to not technically be the Tommo F1 channel, but we can still call it that, can't we? Thanks again. Have a good one. Ta-da.